Well, welcome everybody to the class this evening. In particular, welcome to Ajahn Barry Subhaddo. This is called the Society's basic meditation class. Basic meditation class, and I mean, the Society goes back a long way, um, but in all that time, I'm guessing that the two classes that have been on throughout are obviously, first of all, the introducing Buddhism class, which is still running, of course. And this class, the basic meditation class, and um, uh, and it was certainly going strong when I joined up in the mid '70s, and I think Ajahn Barry did too. So sort of old hands, and that in a way leads me to sort of just a word of warning about a word called basic. Okay, a word called basic. So you might say basic is well, it's where I began. It's for beginners. And it is, but you might notice that some of us have been on the scene since the 1970s. So maybe it's not just basic, maybe it's absolutely kind of fundamental. Um, that's just an opinion. So it's like take it for what it, for how we can use it. So it's how we can use it. Uh, and my understanding, it's basic. Basic practices is there. Whatever your Buddhist tradition. This is it. This is the real deal. It's just a difference in approach, isn't it? How we associate a word. Okay, so Ajahn Barry this evening, zooming in from Spain. Good to see you. And he's a lot of experience. I mean, not just in this class, had it for a while, but also in Zen practice, and then in the Thai forest tradition as well. Now, as you can see, he's a layperson, uh, and so he brings a lot of a lot of a lot of different perspectives to this very simple, basic practice. I'm looking forward to him leading the class this evening. And I should say all the usual bits and pieces. Um, everybody's on mute until the end, but that doesn't stop you, please, sending any questions. Let's listen to you instead, Barry.
Thank you, Colin. Welcome, everybody. I'm not sure. I think one or two have been to the classes that I've led before. So you'll know more or less what I'm going to encourage. But first, I'll do the introductory little chant paying respects to the Buddha Dhamma Sangha. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddham dhanam sangham namasami. I liked the way Colin was talking about the title of this class is Basic Meditation, because I honestly do not think there is anything but basic meditation, no matter how long we've been practicing, no matter how good or bad we think we are at meditating, because we're always starting again. Obviously, I would imagine that most of you have been meditating somewhat before, and you'll probably notice how the mind tends to wander all over the universe. Tends to be anywhere else except for where we are in this present moment. So what do? We practice mindfulness. Mindfulness coming back to the present moment. So basic meditation. I used to, when I would give live talks, say at the monastery or something, I would ask if there's anybody who's not experienced in the class, and if anybody put their hand up, I would know that they're not missing the point slightly. Because there's nothing to get here, there's nothing to gain, nobody to become. There's a letting go. Buddhism isn't about grasping or becoming. It's about letting go of our views and opinions, our conditioning. Now, that letting go, we cannot let go as a person. You often hear it said, just let go. Well, as far as I'm concerned, it's not possible to just let go, because who's trying to let go? The person who's trying to let go is the one that is in the way of seeing the truth of the way it is. But if we are mindful, truly mindful, I'll come back to that, truly mindful or aware or completely conscious, open awareness, and we notice in that moment there's a ceasing of our thoughts, views, and opinions, not to a place of vacuity or blankness, but of true awareness, which isn't controlled by our conditioning. It's just the way it is, can function completely smoothly in most situations, in all situations, when we truly get to know that place, get to trust it. And we do need to get to trust it, because we've spent our whole lives not trusting it. We spent our whole lives trying to become something, trying to get away from something, attaching to this, attaching to that, rejecting this, rejecting that, instead of just looking within, introspection, looking within, knowing, not putting down, suppressing or repressing our emotional energies or whatever, knowing them clearly, but knowing them from that place of true awareness, not from an analytical place of, well, that's because, I don't know, my father trod on my foot when I was 5 years old, or whatever. But just really feeling it, really knowing it, but from that place of awareness. So just being with the body could be the whole of the body, from the tips of the toes to the top of the head, or maybe just the feet. If you're standing, you're walking, you can be aware of the feet. That doesn't mean to say concentrating on the feet, but just a light, spacious awareness. And that can be any part of the body. There is never not an opportunity to be aware. As I say, not going out to particular places, being aware of the breath, the natural, simple breathing. Listening to the sound of silence. Just listening, not to outside sounds. But most importantly, whilst being aware of a particular place, or the breath, or the sound of silence, look, How is your mind? I call it the heart mind, which is the heart of the mind. How is it when we are truly aware in that spaciousness? I've never met anybody who can say there is a problem in that time, who could say they could improve things or themselves in that time. If they start projecting or thinking, of course, they will find ways to want to improve or get away from. But in this present moment, can anybody find a problem in that awareness? I certainly can't. And as I said, I've never found anybody who can if they don't think about it or analyze it, but just look from that place of knowing. We're so used to controlling and trying to become. We see that place. We know that place. But this idea of creeps back in of wanting to grasp it, to control it, to have it, or, for me to progress in my practice. But just getting to know it, getting to trust it, getting to see that things run much more smoothly, getting to see that the mind naturally quietens down. There's no problem with thoughts. There's no need to try and stop thinking. That's automatic when we are present in this moment. And we start to discover what in the Theravada tradition they call the silent thinker. That's the knower. It doesn't have to, it's not separate. It's a knowing how to respond, not reacting, but just how to respond. So this practice is actually really simple because all we need to do is to remember to come back to the present moment or to catch our mind when it starts to go off on one of its trips. I mean, it's divisive by nature, so it will always do it. But we just need to notice that. As soon as we notice that, awareness is re-established. And there is that letting go. But taking this, say, as in the Eightfold path, into right view, right thought, right speech, right action, taking it into every aspect of our life, not just while we are at this particular class this evening or any other class or retreat, but taking it through the house, down the stairs, to work, to catch a bus, to drive the car, to watch the TV, to read a book. That awareness can always be there. Reading the scripture, the suttas. Looking at them as seeds, not trying to grasp answers because they're merely words. But if they're seen as seeds, they will germinate when the time is right. And when we do get more used to being in the present moment, when we get used to being in the present moment, we'll really, truly understand those teachings, not just as an idea, but as a truth. So taking that practice, that simple practice of being present, noticing, it's actually not the present. That is like a window onto our quiet, aware, spaciously aware mind. It's an opportunity for us to see that place, that space that can't be grasped. And once we become familiar with that, there is a natural healing. There's a natural letting go, because there is equanimity there. And the more we get to know that place, why on earth would we want to start going back to our confused, neurotic way of thinking? So what I'll do is I'll do a sweeping guided meditation for you. And as I say, it's not about, I'll say, be aware of the head or be aware of your fingernails. I can't be aware of my fingernails. Never have been able to be aware of my fingernails. But that's not the point. The point is the mind, the heart mind, stops in awareness if I don't project pictures onto my fingernails, onto my head, or whatever. So that's the important thing. It's not about the body is like a tool. It's like a pointer, pointing at that quiet, peaceful, aware space, that space of knowing that cannot be known. So sitting in a posture that's helpful to you, helpful to your awareness, as in if it starts to fall or nod, it's like a reminder to you. Just return to the present moment and look and notice. So we'll sit say 20 minutes and say a few words and have another maybe 20-minute sitting. We'll see how the time goes. And then I really encourage any questions or comments or criticisms or something of your own experience. It's really good when people come up with something, because it opens up new avenues for different things to be talked about in terms of people's practice. So sitting in that posture that's helpful to you, depending on how you're used to practicing, with your eyes open, slitted, looking a meter and a bit in front of you, or however, if you're used to sitting with them closed, open or slitted, find out what is most useful to you. Ideally, hands together in the lotus mudra. And just become aware of the body from the tips of the toes to the top of the head, not focusing, not concentrating. Just noticing the quietness, the nothing to do, nothing to get, nothing, nobody to become. Just being. So becoming aware of the top of the head. As I say, not projecting pictures onto it. If you cannot be aware of the top of your head, that's fine. But you can be aware of how the heart mind ceases in that place of pure presence. So letting that awareness spread down from the top of the head, down the back of the head, to the neck. And now becoming aware of the sides of the head and just noticing without thinking, without projecting. Now becoming aware of the ears, the earlobes. And becoming aware of the forehead and the eyebrows. What happens to your mind when you become aware of your eyebrows or try to become aware of your eyebrows? Mind just stops in that quiet place. Becoming aware of the eyes. Becoming aware of the nose and the nostrils. And the lips and the mouth and the tongue. But most importantly, how is the mind? How is the heart mind at that moment? Being aware of the chin and the jaw and the cheeks of the face. Now bringing the whole of your face and head into your awareness, not grasping it, not projecting onto it, but just lightly, spaciously being aware of it. Now becoming aware of the neck, right around the neck and the throat. Just noticing. And the shoulders. And the upper arms down to the elbows. The sides of the arms, the back of the arms, the front of the arms. Letting that awareness spread down from the elbows down to the wrists. Just noticing that peaceful place, our true refuge, that spacious awareness. Now becoming aware of the hands, the palms of the hands, the backs of the hands, the thumbs, the knuckles, the joints of the fingers, the tips of the fingers, and the fingernails. Now bringing into your awareness your hands, your arms, your shoulders, the neck, the face, and the head. And just noticing, how is the mind in that moment? Not grasping, not becoming, just being. So now becoming aware of the back, from the shoulders down, through the shoulder blades, down the sides of the trunk, down the spine, the small of the back, the arch of the back, the coccyx, the buttocks, and the hips. Now bringing into your awareness the whole of your back, your hands, your arms, your shoulders, the neck, the face, and the head. Now becoming aware of the chest, from the shoulders down the chest, down through the rib cage, the sides of the trunk, the diaphragm, the stomach, the belly, the solar plexus, the navel, intestines, the groin, and the hips. Nothing needs to be thought about, just that light, spacious awareness. Bringing into your awareness the whole of the trunk of the body, the back and the front, the hands, the arms, the shoulders, the neck, the head and the face. Not concentrating, just spacious awareness. Now letting that awareness spread down the legs, from the hips, down the upper legs to the knees, the front of the legs, the back of the legs, the sides of the legs. Just noticing any sensations or feelings, but not going out to them, just noticing them for what they are, just the way they are. They're becoming aware of the lower legs from the knees down to the ankles. And the feet, the soles of the feet, the arches of the feet, the heels of the feet, the balls of the feet, the sides of the feet, the tops of the feet, the toes, the joints of the toes, the tips of the toes, and the toenails. Now bringing the whole of your body from the tips of the toes to the top of the head into your awareness, your consciousness, your mindfulness, your bare attention, call it what you will, but just be aware. Noticing the breath, not following the breath, just being aware of the natural, calm breathing, not concentrating on it, not following it, just that natural, normal breathing. Listening to the sound of silence. Not to outside sounds, but just listening to that silence. But most importantly, critically, noticing how is the mind, how is the heart mind when there is listening, when there is awareness of any particular part of the body. I'll ring the bell shortly, but please don't think in terms of the meditation ending. It never ends. We bring it into our ordinary everyday life. So as I say, getting to know that place, that spacious awareness, which can truly be brought into any situation. It's not very helpful if we just come to a class like this or other classes and then forget about this. It's about becoming the practice, or as Luang Por Sumedho says, become the Buddha knowing the Dhamma. The Buddha is the one who knows. The Dhamma is the way it is. When we're present in that place of just being, you could say that is the Buddha. There's nothing to get or gain or become in that space. There is just awareness, which can respond, which can carry on in life just as well, in fact, much more, in a much better way, a much more skillful way, a way of wisdom. Wisdom, true wisdom, comes from that place of knowing. If it comes from my intellect, it's bound to be biased. But if it comes from this simple, quiet place, which allows, we get into these ruts in our mind of our hang-ups or the way we think it should be. So we've got these like tram lines or ruts in our mind, and the thoughts always tend to run down those lines. But just by being, just by knowing, just by opening, those ruts, tram lines can heal up. And the mind stops running down those lines. It gets to know that place of peace, that place of wisdom. And it's not a place of wisdom of, I know what's right for the world or for somebody else or myself. But it's the wisdom of knowing that place of true wisdom, of true knowing, of true openness, of selflessness. And the more we know this place of selflessness, the more we will automatically gravitate back to that place whenever we get carried away. And the more we do, the more we return to that place, the less times we will be carried away. And why should we? As I once tried to make up a little analogy of life is like walking on hot coals. But, it's normal. That's how we've lived our life. It's uncomfortable. We're walking on these hot coals. But through our practice of awareness, of mindfulness, true mindfulness, this is, we step onto the grass verge, which is comfortable and cool. But through our conditioning, our habits, we go back onto the hot coals. But the more we get to know that cool, damp, grassed verge, after a while, why the hell would we want to go back onto the hot coals? Why would we want to relive in this confused, neurotic, opinionated place? So, I use the word mindfulness, but not confuse it with, I certainly did, and I think many other people do, confuse mindfulness with self-consciousness, as in, I am walking this way, I am cleaning my teeth, I am drinking my tea. That's self-consciousness. But learning to know that place prior to the thinking mind, this is true mindfulness, because there is a true doing. It's not me doing. There is just a true doing. So if we sit again for another period, a similar length, 20 minutes or 22, I think that was, I'll just give the occasional reminder of to maybe, if your mind is in Hawaii or somewhere nice and sunny or whatever you like to dream about, just to remind you to come back and notice. Okay. So using the body, a particular part of the body, or the whole of the body, or the breath, or the sound of silence, just to anchor the mind and notice, how is it when there is presence? So just returning. When the mind wanders, not commenting, not scolding yourself, beating yourself up, just gently come back. Always experimenting. Don't necessarily stick to one particular part of the body or the breath or the sound of silence. Move your attention around. Find what is easiest for you in that moment, just to be present. If there are feelings of discomfort, look at them. Maybe pose a small question. What is this feeling? Is it mine? And then if needs be, move. But don't just react to a feeling. Look at it clearly first and then respond. Try just listening to the sound of silence, not to outside sounds, but that silence which probably includes our own sound. But most importantly, notice how the heart mind is in that moment. Notice that we don't need to control the world. Just gently returning to the body or a place in the body, the hands, the fingernails, the breath, So just gently returning when you catch the mind wandering. But with true metta, don't beat yourself up. Because that's the nature of the mind, it's divisive by nature. Just come back, just notice that place of spacious awareness. So if you're getting a little bit drowsy or tired, just add a little bit more energy into the body, not to get something, but just to help with that awareness. To be aware of when the mind wanders. Just come back to the present moment. And most importantly, notice how is the mind, how is the heart mind in the present moment. So getting to know that space, getting to know it so we can access it in our ordinary everyday life, which is very important. It's not about doing something special. It's about letting it transform us in our every action, every moment of the day. Transform us into our true nature, being a true human instead of living in some dream world that we create in our minds. So getting to know it, so it becomes our norm, our natural state. So does anybody have any questions or anything you can add to that, or something that you don't quite understand what I'm encouraging?
Can you say something about, I don't know quite how one, but the process of both being on the cool, lush grass, as you've described in it, and simultaneously, as one is in the rest of one's life, getting on with doing the things one's doing, being with the people one's being with, thinking about the things one has to think about, planning to log in for my Zoom meeting at 6:30, engaging in all of that in parallel.
Yeah. You sitting on a chair?
Yes.
Okay, can you feel your backside on the chair? Yes? Is there awareness of that? And when you're aware of that, without projecting thoughts onto it, can you hear me? Can you see me? It rejects nothing. If we're in that quiet place, say as in on the grass verge, it's not rejecting anything. It doesn't get in the way of functioning in the normal world at all. It's just that we're responding to it instead of reacting to it. We're more at one with it. Does that make any sense?
Yes, thank you. Yes, that's helpful.
It doesn't exclude anything. It sounds like something different. We're in this state of confusion on these hot coals. It's uncomfortable, but that's life. And then we notice that the grass verge is cool. This is what being aware is like, instead of being trapped in our samsaric world that we create in the mind. So it in no way inhibits us in our ordinary everyday life. We might respond a little bit differently, a little bit more skillfully, less opinionated, but it certainly doesn't get in the way of anything, of doing our jobs, because it's just being aware in the present moment.
Yes, I suppose I was more worried the other way around, that our everyday jobs get in the way of being aware.
No, everything is an opportunity to be aware. Whatever your job is, whether you're at a computer screen or writing something or building something, well, I mean, there can always be awareness. Whether we're watching the TV, reading a book, there can always be, instead of just being lost in these things and going out to them, we can see them clearly from that place of open awareness.
Yeah, that's very helpful. Thank you.
Great. Yeah, try it out. See for yourself.
Well, I do it. You're right. When you point it out, I can see that, yes, I am capable of doing that, or it is what I'm doing at least some of the time.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. We need to try and make it the norm, instead of, initially we have to remember, there I go again, and then the more we so-called practice, the more natural it becomes, and then we're more and more here.
Thank you.
A pleasure. Colin.
Well, actually, I've got two questions in the chat. Anna's wants to ask a question or something. Do you mind, Anna, if we deal with the chat first? Thank you very much. First one, two here. First one, I saw a documentary once with Thich Nhat Hanh, and he said something like, non-fear is the foundation of true happiness. I wonder if you could say something about this and how we can deal with or overcome irrational fears that we may have. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I'll always come back to the same thing. Always the same thing is, once we're out of the way, there is less, or we're less controlled by our fear. I can't see that fear will ever really disappear. There's a nice Indian saying that pain is compulsory, but suffering from pain is optional. Suffering is compulsory, but suffering from suffering is optional. And I would say fear is compulsory, but suffering from fear is optional. It's what we add on top, which is the problem, add on top of our normal human state. So getting to know our true nature, so to speak, getting to know that spacious, aware place, yeah, fear will have less of a grasp over us. We'll be able to function more smoothly. But yeah, I mean, fight and flight. Sometimes we'll have to run away. Sometimes we'll have to fight, so to speak. I'm not saying you should go and have a punch up, but, you know. And was there something else, Colin?
Oh yeah, they're coming in thick and fast. But here's one more, and then I'm going to hold off and ask Anna to ask her question. So anyway, here's one. Thank you so much for these teachings. Could you please say more about heart-mind?
Yeah, I mean, it's a term I use for the heart, what I think of as the heart of the mind, which is that quiet, aware place before my views and opinions, my conditioning kicks in and takes over. My experience while being in that place of presence is, if I'm not there, my mind is all over. I'm thinking about this, I'm thinking about that, I'm worrying about this, I'm trying to do this or whatever. But if I'm coming from a place of awareness, there is a thought. And that thought can be thought through. Now, the difference here is then it ceases. It doesn't go on incessantly from one thought to another as the mind normally does. It ceases if I wanted to. I also have the choice not to think that thought, to let it go, which I don't have when I'm caught in this samsaric way of life, this deluded way of life. Yeah, can't say much more.
Anna, would you like to ask a question, please? But unmute, please unmute.
You need
Anna.
to unmute yourself, Anna.
Down the bottom left of your screen.
Sorry, no, it was saying
space. There you are. Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah.
Typed in the messaging chat that was the question I was going to ask too about the heart mind. So thank you very much.
Okay. Does it make any sense?
Yeah, no, thank you for going through it again.
Yeah, things need to be, we have to do things through words. Words are never the truth or never correct. But, you know, if we use them as pointers, pointing at something for us to look at, you know, heart mind is just the heart of the mind, which is at peace. It's not grasping, clinging, or rejecting. It's just like this. And it's very accessible if we only look. But generally, we're looking at becoming a good meditator, making my mind quiet, getting rid of my thoughts. It's all doing, trying to become something else. But if we just look within, there's completeness there already. So yeah, that completeness is what I would call the heart mind. If you could give me another better term, I'll gladly take it and use it.
Thank you.
Okay, So here we've got an interesting question. You mentioned that it's okay to switch attention to different parts of the body. Does this include things like your pulse, the heartbeat? Often heard of paying attention to the stomach rising and falling, or the breath entering the nostrils before, but never any other bodily processes. Is there a reason? Why not?
Why not stick to one thing? Was that the question?
No, well, I don't know. I mean, I'm not in a position to say.
No.
I haven't got. Actually, I've got it's from BA. It's from BA. But the way I'm reading the question, it's like, can you use other parts of the body as a meditation object, as an anchor, besides the breath, like the rise and fall of the abdomen, or whatever?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I've found that trying to concentrate on one particular part, say following the breath in the nose or the rise and falls of the belly, it becomes concentrating, and therefore I'm always trying to achieve something. But what I'm suggesting here is when we shift our attention from different parts of the body, there's an opportunity in that shifting to see that the mind is truly at peace. And I personally don't find it so easy if I'm sticking to one thing. I spent years following my breath, counting my breath. But it didn't really lead me into discovering my true nature, so to speak, because I was always, it's like, again, I like to make up these little stories, whether they make any sense or not. We want to get to the other side of a canyon. So we get a rope across, and then we'll learn to walk the tightrope. So we start to practice, and after a while, we become really good at this. We get halfway and, well, I'm good at this. And even stand on your hands upside down and do various tricks. And other people sort of look at you and say, oh, well, that's wonderful. You can do all those things. But the point is, we've completely forgotten why we got the rope to the other side of the valley. It was because we wanted to get to the other side of the valley, not to become good at particular techniques of practice. Again, it's looking where these things are pointing. In themselves, they're not the practice, but they're opportunities to see our true nature, our true awakenedness, which is not so difficult to discover if we only look. Just stop. Can anybody find anything lacking in this present moment without thinking about it? Was there anything else there, Colin?
Not yet.
Okay.
Are there any other questions, please? Or shall we, as it's 8 o'clock here, but 9 o'clock in Spain, sure that Ajahn Barry spend the rest of the evening to his own devices. Look, before we pack up, I'd really I'd like to thank him very much for coming to the class tonight. And I'm hoping that he's going to be teaching the class again next week. Is that okay, Ajahn Barry?
Well, as you know, I prefer the term leading the class. I'm not a teacher. I encourage. Yeah, I mean, if it, yeah, I can do next week.
That's great, because you're traveling.
Great to see
Yeah.
everybody, and but you'll get the same old thing. So
Well, we just get it sooner this way, because usually you teach the last Thursday of the class, but you're traveling then, and so I asked if you'd do next week, and that's absolutely brilliant. Thank you very much. So thank you very much again, Barry, and thank you everybody for coming. I want to thank Lavinia tonight for pulling the virtual strings, and making all. Because I couldn't do it, Barry couldn't do it. So we need all the help we can get.
absolutely.
Thank you very much indeed, everybody. Thanks, Barry.
And
See you next week, I hope.
yeah, and my encouragement to everybody is just remember to come back and notice in every situation. There is never not an opportunity to be aware. Take care, everyone. Bye.
Thank you, Barry.